We all know that Craig Jones likes to dominate people on the mats, but what happens when he doesn't have to hold back on his weird jiu-jitsu fantasies? Well, it turns out the more of a friend you are to Craig, the worse it gets for you on the mats. First up, we have the Asian wizard Jozef Chen. Craig going for the underhook. Watch how he keeps his elbow high and he's able to throw Jozef by. He quickly transitions to the other side with a body lock and he inserts his left knee in front of Jozef. Look how he's hanging all of his weight over towards the shoulders. That's going to force Jozef to break down to his shoulders, and look how Craig's marking his territory by rubbing his crotch against the back of Jozef's leg. But don't worry, Craig's going to offer some reassurance. Jozef probably wondering when he ordered the ex-girlfriend experience from Craig, but things are just going to get worse. Craig inserting the right hook in front of the hip, and this is the problem with Craig. The more time he has to think, the more evil his plan gets. Look at that left hand, it's fishing for something evil, but despite that, he still has a nice side and he moves Jozef's hair out the way for him. On the other hand, things are about to get extremely uncomfortable for J-Rod. Craig embracing J-Rod into a double overs body lock, and he's going to drive that head under the chin. Although it seems counterintuitive, Craig actually shows his affection through his jiu-jitsu. The only catch is, the more it hurts, the more he cares. J-Rod manages to work into a reverse De La Riva, but Craig's going to step over onto the far leg. J-Rod receiving the VIP Craig Jones treatment, and the only thing he can really do from here is to curl up in a ball and question his life decisions. Craig, concerned that J-Rod's getting too comfortable, he decides to make him feel at home by covering his nose and his mouth, and this is what John Danaher talks about in his instructionals. You have to create dilemmas for your opponent. Here J-Rod has the choice between oxygen and being able to walk off the mats. Things a little bit worse for Jozef Chen. He's not in a dilemma, he's trapped in a corner, and Craig's able to get the belly down choke. And if you think things are getting better for Jozef Chen, you're wrong. Craig's just going to blast double him straight back down to the mat. Craig feeling a little bit embarrassed for Jozef, he's going to allow him to stand back up. Now watch how Craig level changes by stepping his right foot outside of Jozef's, grabbing the leg, and he's going to blast double to the other side. That's a really nice way to counter the sprawl on the single leg. Now I want you to pay close attention here. Jozef Chen has one of the best guards in Nogi Jiu-Jitsu, and Craig is about to make it look super easy to pass by using one key detail. He clears the leg by putting it between his, and he's able to put some forward pressure on. Look how Jozef tries to off balance towards the left, but Craig grabs the hips with that left arm and he drives his shoulder and his hip in towards the mat, and that's going to create a really horrible angle for Jozef to play guard. Craig essentially just redirecting all of the frames towards one side, and he's able to force Jozef's hips and shoulders to face towards the left. There's a reason that this position is called the side smash position. Craig looking to set up better upper body control, and here he has exposure towards the back or the mount depending on Jozef's reaction. Now watch here, he's going to insert his left arm across Jozef's waist. That's going to create space for him to insert his right knee in the pocket of the hip, and he's going to be able to take the mount position, and he already has the upper body control to get the head and arm choke. But Craig obviously wants to make it more uncomfortable for Jozef, so he's going to change it up a little bit. But first we need to check in on J-Rod, and we're just in time. Jay's regained consciousness. There must have been a gap between Craig's fingers and he was able to keep some oxygen supply, but it might have been better if he just tapped. Now look how Craig's going to try and insert that left foot into the pocket of Jay's hips. Jay doing a good job defending by holding onto his own leg, but he's going to let go, trying to turn out to the single, and that's going to allow Craig to drive that left foot across the waist. He locks up a Kimura grip, but J-Rod has a really good armbar defense, so let's see if Craig's able to finish. Craig able to get the right leg across the face, and he's blocking the hips of J-Rod. J-Rod turning really hard into Craig, and he's going to try and slip the elbow to the inside, but look how Craig is grabbing the top of his own thigh, and he's applying a lot of pressure here. That's going to keep the elbow stuck to the inside. Now watch this carefully. By defending the left arm, J-Rod exposes the tricep of the right arm. Craig's going to release his right arm and pummel it under the wrist and onto the tricep. He pushes on the hips and he's going to switch round to the other side. And most importantly, Craig's controlling the inside thumb and wrist position, which stops Jay from being able to rotate out, and Craig gets the tap. Back in Jozef's corner, Craig not satisfied with the head and arm choke or the mount position. Look how he uses that right leg to encourage Jozef to turn his hips over, and at the same time he's going to plant that right fist on the floor and extend his arm. That's going to apply pressure underneath the armpit, pulling Jozef in two different directions. Now watch this hand fight. Jozef trying to defend, Craig's going to attack the neck. Jozef lifts the elbow and Craig's going to push that even further up and force him to the belly down position. Craig shelving both legs on top of his feet and driving his hips into the lower back and pushing up on the elbow, forcing Jozef to tap. Now Craig's going to show a little bit of fake concern when in reality he absolutely loves it. Back over to J-Rod, and he's got a new idea, preventing the guard smash with a 10-finger strangulation. Unfortunately, he doesn't know that this is something Craig actually requests, but I'm not surprised. J-Rod's so awkward with the females, he's probably never spoken to one of Craig's ex-girlfriends. Now watch this really good positioning from Craig. He's framing on the far hip and pushing the knee across, driving Jay's hips towards the opposite side. He's able to close the distance. Jay doing a nice job framing, but he hooks that right leg underneath the armpit of Craig. And if you don't know by now, Craig loves a lat knee bar. He throws that leg over. Jay able to rotate out, doing a really good job trying to attack his own heel hook. Craig slipping the heel, Jay locking up the shotgun Achilles grip. Now Craig's going to do something that I think everyone should do when it comes to defending ankle locks, and that is build up height. And look how he's driving all of his weight into J-Rod. That's going to allow him to slide that leg back, and he's straight into a smash pass. He's got his shoulder underneath Jay's chin, and instead of going for the head and arm, he's going to use the no-gi Ezekiel choke, where he uses the left hand to cover the open side of the neck. Back in the standing position with Jozef, Craig's going to grab onto the single leg. Jozef defended with the collar tie and the wrist grip, but look how Craig steps back, elevating the right leg as high as he can, pulling Jozef's left leg from underneath him. Jozef turning away to defend, but watch how Craig rides the position by inserting the left knee into the pocket of the hip, and he's controlling both arms of Jozef by the biceps, driving his weight forward. That's going to force Jozef into the bottom turtle position, and Craig's going to be able to use this superior hip mobility to insert the hooks and pull him back into the back control position. And if you guys want to roll like the elites, you need to improve your mobility off the mats as well. That's why I created an 8-week full body mobility program just for grapplers. It's on sale right now. Don't let your lack of mobility hold you back on the mats. Follow the link down below and get yourself a program that guarantees results. Now watch this ridiculous submission from Craig. He's locked up the body triangle and he's controlling underneath both armpits of Jozef. He's going to extend his hips and pull the shoulders back. That puts a lot of pressure on Jozef's back, and he's going to verbally tap. Craig Jones obviously able to blow backs out on and off the mats. Finally, J-Rod's going to have an opportunity to get his own back in the standing position. He's going to bait the single leg, move up to the waist, and he's going to go for an oh my goshy. But wait, there's a twist. Jay gets overexcited, jumping on the neck of Craig, but he leaves his right leg vulnerable. Craig throws him over the top and drops back on a lat knee bar. Jay able to stand up, but Craig's in the reverse X guard. He's going to use that to elevate Jay, and as he comes back, he's going to turn towards his knees, coming up for the top position. J-Rod a lot lighter than Craig, but he's much more flexible and athletic, and he needs to use that to his advantage. It's just sometimes he gets a little bit overexcited and he fumbles the ball every time he has an opportunity. And after some heavy hand fighting, Craig's going to be able to lock up this pinch headlock, driving Jay's shoulder towards the mat. He's going to throw that left leg over. He hooks the heel over the clavicle, locking up a reverse triangle, and he's going to start working on the Kimura, but he sees the wrist lock is available and takes that instead. Back to his round with Jozef. He goes for the double leg. Jozef turning away. Craig's got the body lock, and he's going to start driving that right knee into the pocket of the hips. Jozef shaking his head in disbelief. Now look how Craig goes for the wrist ride, and he throws that right leg between the legs. Now you might think he's giving away control to Jozef, but by having that leg in between Jozef's, he's able to sit heavy on the hips and the top leg, which is going to stop Jozef's ability to rotate. Look how he drives his hips forward. That's called leg riding. And the underlying concept is that when we're in back control or the mount position, our opponent's hips are really free to move, making it much more comfortable for them. But in a position like this, there's so much weight and so much pressure on the person that it's so much harder for them to free themselves, which means they're carrying more weight, wasting more energy, which means that when you go for the submission, they're more likely to tap, or if you transition to the back or mount, they're going to be more tired and therefore easier to work on. For example, here Craig's locked up the rear naked choke from the belly down position, and Jozef has a way out, which is to submit. On the other hand, J-Rod's managed to lock Craig chest to chest with a body lock, but Craig understands the importance of head position when passing the guard, so he messes with Jay's head position, stuffing it under the armpit. Jay's able to step over and get the inside knee position, but Craig locks a gable grip around the leg and he pulls that ankle over and pushes it to the other side. This is kind of similar to a funk roll. Craig's starting to build up to an elbow, and from here he should be able to get out pretty easily, but Jay's locked that body lock and he will not let go of it, despite having his right foot almost in his ear. But because Craig has the height advantage, he's able to reach over the top and grab a guillotine, but he's not able to get the right pressure with the leg in the way, so he removes the arm, throwing the left leg over, and he ends up in the top mount position. But luckily for Jay, he's able to slip his head out. Now he just needs to escape the bottom mount. He starts bucking and bridging, stiff arming the hips. He's able to get both hooks to the inside and rebuild to guard. Craig obviously a little bit salty about the fact that Jay got out of the guillotine, so he's going to drive his way in and look for a reverse crossface, using the back of the tricep to pull the head towards the hips. This is a great way to prevent the guard player from moving his head and shoulders away, and Craig's going to use that to reach around and grab a chin strap, and combined with the underhook, he's able to enter into the cow catcher submission, where he switches his hips, pulling the chin of Jay down by forcing his head forward, sitting the hips through, creating a choke and neck crank pressure, which would make anybody tap. Now we're pretty used to see Craig dominate on the mats, but if you want to see him put in a Shark Tank with 3 of the world's best grapplers, you should check out this video right here.